Hey everybody, I'm back with my next video, and I do want to apologize for how long it has been since I posted. I know I promised a video quickly after the PET scan, and I obviously didn't do that. So first off, the PET scan came back clean, which is wonderful. I am currently cancer-free, and so what that means is for the next year, every 3 months, I'll have a check-in with my oncologist, which won't involve imaging. It'll be all blood test based, and then after a year, we'll move to every 6 months for 5 years. So I'll check in, have my blood tests every 6 months to make sure that my cancer isn't coming back. After 5 years, we'll just move to annual blood checks with my primary care physician, not my oncologist. And I will be considered clinically cured if I don't have any reoccurrences in 5 years. That is the statistical cutoff for cured, but those checks will remain for the rest of my life because cured is a tricky term. It's a tricky thought, right? There's no saying that I could not have another reoccurrence when I was 60, in 30 years. So who knows? But we'll keep an eye on it. I still don't have any idea how fast my cancer moved. About a year before I was diagnosed, 10 months before I was diagnosed in February, I had a bout of meningitis that was pretty bad. So I ended up in the hospital for about a week, give or take. And in an attempt to figure out how I got the meningitis, they did a lot of tests, like lots and lots and lots of tests, including a test that in theory should have seen lymphoma and didn't. So it's very possible that it was missed because, they weren't looking for lymphoma. Like, lymphoma doesn't cause meningitis, really. But if those tests were accurate and I didn't have lymphoma, then my lymphoma moved extremely fast. I think it's more likely that that's not the case, that I had it while I had meningitis and that I had probably had it for a while. But who knows? We don't know, and I guess we'll kind of figure it out. I also wanted to take some time to kind of talk about why it took me so long to post this video. So it's very hard for me to describe this process. I'm gonna take a shot at it, but what this is really gonna be is me babbling for a while. So stick with me if you want, and there'll be an update at the end. But it took a long time for me to post this video because it took a long time for me to, I guess, process what having a clean PET scan would mean. When I first was diagnosed, particularly because I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, I knew all of the odds, and Jamie did a wonderful job educating me, and some of my friends, Charlie, just fantastic job educating me on what it was that was happening. But I still needed to process what that meant. And I guess like anybody who has sort of a longer term sort of existential incident, what that kind of meant for me was that I adjusted to and started to understand a shorter time frame. I mean, that I started to think about my life and what it would mean more along the lines of 2 years instead of 10 or 20. And I've never really been much of a planner. I'm a terrible planner. But it's very different when you expect to only have 2 years left. And so while I knew that I had, a good shot at this all working out, the good shot was still only about 2 out of 3. So if you've ever played like that game with the marble under 3 different cups, you know that 2 out of 3 happens a lot, but certainly not all the time. So for me, adjusting to what that meant and thinking about that and how to process it was very key to my just being able to handle having cancer. And I know it's kind of cliche, but they say that it's in stress and stressful times that the core of a human, or the core of your personality or your character, sort of comes to the front, comes to the fore, I guess, if we're going to be. It rhymes with core, so it's probably better, comes to the fore. But different people react in different ways when they're under threat. And make no mistake, cancer is a threat. It's maybe a slower moving threat than, say, a car, but it's definitely a threat. And it causes stress. And some people, they lie or they blame others or they deny. Some people accept and give up. Some people accept and move on. Some people accept and fight. I would have a hard time telling you exactly what I did. I feel like these buckets are buckets for other people to judge you by, less buckets for you to think about yourself and apply to yourself. But I guess, I adjusted. I'm a pretty calm person, and I suppose with my standard calmness, I slowly but thoroughly adjusted. So when the scan come back clean, then, that basically reverses everything, right? I had spent however many months adjusting to the fact that my horizon was now limited. And obviously a horizon is always limited, but it's hard to think about mortality, on kind of a 50-year scale. It's much easier and much more direct when the scale is 2 years. So basically that whole process has happened again in the last month. And that process is a large part of the reason why I have really not wanted to make this film, even though it's a celebratory film. Because when you get that clean scan, everybody celebrates. Everybody is, yelling for joy. And I think, the way some of my friends reacted to my scan, I don't think I have ever felt more loved. It was remarkable to see that people had such joy knowing that I could share life with them for longer. And that's a wonderful thing, right? But that's not the thing that happens in you, right? That's the thing that happens around you, the thing that happens to you. And so the thing that, that processing that happens in you is different. And for me anyways, it's slower, and it's adjusting to a different horizon again. It's easy to say it was reverting, but it wasn't, because that normal before cancer was obviously a big adjustment for the normal during cancer. But this normal post-cancer is very much not the normal that I had before cancer. I assume COVID will take the same arc. People keep talking about opening up and going back to normal, but we're never going to go back to normal. There is no way back to normal. Certainly not for everyone post-COVID, and definitely not for me post-cancer. And that is not a bad thing. It's a pretty exciting thing, really. Just a quick, very physical example. Before all the chemo, I went in to get checked because I had back pain, really, really bad back pain, and could not sleep through a night. I didn't realize how bad it was at the time. My pain tolerance sometimes miscommunicates with me. Anyways, the cancer's gone now, which caused the back pain due to a growth that was basically in my pelvis, at the base of my spine. And that pain's now, it's totally gone. And I sleep through the night most days, pretty much every day now. And so that's not the same normal. In many ways, this is a better normal. I've come out better than I came in. Physically, anyways. And I hope, and I am working to spiritually and mentally also be better now, to come out better than I was before. I know that's also a cliche, right? That like you have a near-death experience and it changes your life. And obviously that is true on some level. I will say though that having a slow-moving near-death experience is very different than having a quick-moving one. But, it's just how it is. So, 4 weeks, and I think that I am starting to understand the new normal. In the past, I have made mistakes before, thinking that I had adjusted or that I understood when I really didn't. So I think it's very possible that will happen to me again. But I'll continue to adjust towards what I hope to be a more positive normal. So that's kind of where I'm at and why this video is so delayed. Now, if you're somehow still watching, there has been one, I would say, ironic development. About 2 weeks ago, I went to my optometrist to get new glasses because switching insurance under Jamie's insurance, I wanted to get glasses before my insurance. I switched insurance, I get 2 pairs of glasses, gotta game the system. And my optometrist, in my eye exam, discovered several small bleeds in my retina, basically burst capillaries or something like that. So she referred me to an ophthalmologist, a retina specialist, and I had that appointment on Wednesday. And I got in, and it was a bit of a roller coaster of an appointment, because first thing is they did all these tests, and they came back with the tests saying that there was no bleeding in my eyes, and that it was probably just dust in the camera at my optometrist's office. So, whoops, I guess. Good news. But there was a but, because there's always a but. And in this case, the but was I have cataracts in both of my eyes. The kind of cataract I have has a specific name, but basically what it means is that there's a a protective layer around your eye lens, and in the back of my eye lens, so like the inside side of my lens, there is cloudiness between the lens, in the lens, and between that protective coating. So right now, it kind of looks like the smoke never went away. So there was a lot of smoke here in Seattle. And for me, it sort of looks like there's still low-grade wildfire smoke kind of everywhere, which isn't ideal. It's also not debilitating, right? Like certainly very livable, but also not ideal. So the solution to this is to replace the lenses in each of my eyes. So it'll be 2 different cataract surgeries, one for each eye, 2 weeks apart. And kind of a weird side effect of this is that it will actually fix my long distance vision. So I mean, you guys all know I am horribly myopic, and this will fix that. The downside is because we'll be implanting plastic lenses into my eyes, and that the plastic lens can't adjust in the same way that the organic one does. So it basically removes my ability to focus on things close to me. Essentially, I'll need reading glasses. So I will trade in my regular glasses for reading glasses to use a computer or phone or read a book, which is most of my time. So I don't exactly know what that means, but I'll be discussing that with my ophthalmologist who will do the surgery. I don't have a schedule for that yet, but it's coming up, so we'll see. They think that the cataracts were caused by the steroids I was on. So I was on dexamethasone regularly in order to handle the side effects of the chemo, but a side effect of the dexamethasone was the cataracts. So got a side effect from a side effect management solution that will now require me to have surgery in both of my eyes. I'm gonna be honest, this news hit me pretty hard, which was weird, right? Because cataract surgery is really not that big a deal. It takes, 15 minutes. Usually, while it takes a couple weeks to totally heal, you'll have your full vision back, better vision, theoretically, usually within about 24 hours. It's outpatient, right? Like it's just not really that big a deal. And certainly not a big deal in comparison to chemo or cancer, but I guess on some level I had come to terms with the fact that it was over, but it's not. So when I realized how wrong I was about it being over, that hit me pretty hard. So yeah, it's just another thing to process, another thing to come to terms with, right? So in my slow style, I'm still working through that. And working through it will, certainly dictate when I choose to schedule the surgery, because I can certainly live with smoky eyes, but there's not really any reason to, and eventually I will not be able to live with it. So there's not a whole lot of reason to wait. Anyways, this is now by far my longest video. Thank you for watching. I don't exactly know what the posting schedule will be, since I started this to talk about cancer, and in theory I am done with cancer. So if you want more videos, let me know. Either way, I really appreciate all of the love and support everyone has given me throughout this whole time. I just like processing death. I can't explain what processing love means, but I hope that you know that it means everything. So have a good one.